Hey, welcome back to JB Breaks Free. I hope you're having a great day, the best day ever, as my family likes to say. Hope you're keeping the promises you make to yourself today, getting 1% better than you were yesterday, and breaking free any way that you know how. Today's topic is going to be one that changed my life for the better, whether or not to combine finances with your partner, in this case, my wife. And we weren't always that way, and I'll talk a little bit about that. Before I did do some Instacarting this morning. I made $56 in just a few hours, so that's great. It's building up my weekly total, and I'm going to list some records this afternoon, do some cardio, and chill out actually for a little bit before work tonight if I can find the time. But it's a great day, and it's a great day to talk about combining finances. And I remember the day were really financial independence. I didn't even know the term yet, but I knew I wanted to concentrate on my finances. I had this major epiphany that, my wife and I need to sit down and talk about this stuff. And this is what I wanted to learn about. And I knew I was just going to be a waiter and I wasn't going to be going to school anymore, but I wanted to learn. I had the hunger for knowledge and I had the hunger to improve myself for the better. And so, my wife and I met at 23 and, a couple years of dating. So then we get an apartment. And at this point, now we got some bills that we got to take care of. I took care of the rent. She took kind of care of everything else. She was a teacher. I was a waiter, and still both are. And I had my issues back in my 20s, and there was really no reason to combine finances at this point. And all I was focused on at that point, is so ashamed to say, is I just needed enough money to cover the rent. And the rest of my money, man, went to spending money on material goods or really drugs and alcohol, to be quite honest. And that's where the great majority went. And then I would feel bad about that. And I would even try to spend my money before I could go out and spend it on bad stuff. I mean, if I only knew then what I knew now, I'd be so much farther ahead. But God works in mysterious ways, I guess. And He's put certain things in front of me, I'd like to think, that have brought me to where I am now. Come a long ways. So I'm thinking, I remember laying in bed and just, what do I want to learn? I want to learn about my finances. What am I going to do with my money? I like to collect stuff back then, especially sports cards and a little bit of records. And I'm like, that's my hobby, right? My hobby is spending money on sports cards, spending money on records. And nobody cares, number one. You're buying things to impress people that you don't know or don't care about. And number two, I still wasn't super happy, like that stuff was not bringing me happiness or joy or fulfillment. So one day I got the brilliant idea of what if frugality was my hobby? And not to the point to be like a cheapskate, but to, just save my money. And then that kind of led me down the wormhole of financial independence. And I started learning more and more and more. And I realized then that it just wasn't financial independence, it was the journey. And not only that, is self-improvement and self-development. And so all those things for the positives just started snowballing in the last 4 or 5 years. And then so I started to talk to my wife a little bit about it. Yeah, let's kind of go through our finances. Let's see where we're at. And we eventually had a sit down at this very table right here. But before we get to that, so we bought our house together. Somehow I had even had a better credit score than her at the time, which I found surprising. But like I said, I would take the mortgage and she would have everything else. And just about, there'd be other things. And I would save some money for being a waiter and being a crazy waiter and not quite a dad yet. I still had a little bit of a saving bug in me. I would have a few $1,000s saved up, and then I would buy something or this or that. But she barely had enough money to, she had no money saved really, and barely had enough money for the bills. And I would always wonder, you're a teacher, you're making this amount of money. I wasn't making nearly as much money as I am now waiting tables, just with prices going up and customers tip you more now that they know you and stuff. I mean, this is like 10, 12 years ago. And just like business got better. So she was definitely making way more money than me. How do you not have enough money for your savings? These comments would come out here and there. So finally, we'd take a seat at this table and we discuss our finances and, whether or not we should combine our finances. And she starts breaking down in tears. And she was like $28,000 to $30,000 in debt, just from consumer debt, just from credit cards. And I was awfully shocked at that news, obviously. And she was in tears. And my first reaction was not one of anger or sadness. It might have been a little frustrated. Trying to think. But I know I've read some things where that could destroy relationships, even that amount of financial infidelity, if you want to call it that. And, she was in tears and she just kept going and growing, and Christmas stuff was going on the credit card and everything else, trips, an Amazon machine, and I'm by no means perfect. I had, like I said, many personal issues. I was not the greatest person in the world either. But there we were. And her in tears and me talking about our finances. And my first instinct was to say, this is okay. We can get through this. Yes, I was a little disappointed. But I was excited about the future. I got an itch on my back. So we made a plan right then and there. And the plan started with her debt. And that's not even counting her house, which was probably, I don't know, $110,000 at the time. And 2 cars. We had massive car debts were still paid. And I just want to say all that's gone now within the last 4 years. But at the time, it was a sea of debt. And so we made a plan, and we're going to combine our finances. And I won't get into like the budget stuff now, but we did decide to combine them. And once we did, the first thing I did was the money that I had, I put it towards her debt. And we just started chipping it down. And honestly, I paid off a lot of it just from my side hustles. And this was even before Instacart. I remember just selling tons of records that I had. And I was getting into my minimalist phase. And so we just started paying down that debt. We took the snowball method, where we started with the smallest and then took care of that one, and then put that extra money into the next one, put that extra money into the next one and the next one, and just chipped away at credit card debt, chipped away at our car debt. And then it was everything but the mortgage. And then you said, you know what? Mortgage is effing next. It's going down too. And then we did that. And to get there, we put our money together. And what are some pros and cons of putting your money together? Some cons. One is a saver, one is a spender. Maybe that's how, maybe I was the saver, maybe she was the spender. The second con, credit card debt issues. Do you love the person enough who you're with to take on that debt? And I suppose I did and do. And we created a plan to take care of that. 3, addiction issues. Perhaps your spouse has gambling issues, drug issues, shopping issues. Like I spoke about before, financial infidelity. And some of that was certainly my fault. I had addiction issues, gambling issues. I've lost a couple thousand on sports gambling before, and I've won that too. But that was a sickening loss for me, and that was a long time ago, late 20s, when I was still a mess. And again, I've gotten past that. I've gotten past all of that. But so those are three things you'd have to watch out for. Also, you got cons of combining finances. It could be more troublesome if you were to get separated. You kind of have to agree or, compromise on spending, and maybe you're too accountable. But for that, I kind of needed that stuff, and perhaps so did she. So it all kind of worked out for the better for us. Some of the pros, it helps to ease everyday tasks of paying bills, buying groceries, planning for the future and retirement. There's budgets now. There's transparency in the budgets. There's accountability with money. There's not just, her maybe hammering Amazon or doing this and that, or me buying crazy sports cards and gambling and drinking and doing my own sort of shoppings and stuff like that. There's a nice equality of finances within our marriage now. It has made us happier. It's made us more content. It's eased the stress from our lives, a lot of it. It helps with compound interest. If a little bit's grown here, a little bit's grown there, if you put it together, it's going to compound more. Obviously, the more you have, the more it's going to compound. So those are some of the positives that came out of us combining our finances. I did see a Dave Ramsey quote. He talked, I kind of researched the issue a little bit. Oh, my wife or my partner, the wife or husband, hid their debt from me. And, should I be mad? And he was like, no, it's your responsibility for putting all of that on her and not checking in. Like, I was blind to it. I turned a blind eye to everything. I wasn't involved in that as much as I should have been. But once we started combining our finances and we came up with an investing plan, I remember, we had these, before I even learned about investing, I had to learn about investing in low-cost index funds. I used to have this really small, I think it was like an AXA life insurance plan, and that was my only retirement at the time. There was just a financial advisor who was just crushing us. We actually had to get out of one of those and put it into like a different Vanguard 403b. But we did all this without financial advisors who are basically trying to take your money for the most part. Low-cost index funds, you don't need anyone to manage your money for the most part. And again, this is do your own research. But we combined our finances. We started maxing out our IRAs. We opened our like 403bs, like the 19,000 that she can put in. We opened up a brokerage account. We did other IRAs, traditional IRAs. Started boosting our savings. We started boosting up our checking account, which is for our main bills. And you know what? She can do what she wants. We kind of just talk about it. We both got on the same page, which was great. She wasn't against that. She wanted to take care of this. She's happy now, and so am I. She was a great partner. That's the best piece of financial advice I can offer you guys is to, find a great partner if you want somebody on this journey. And then I remember I had to talk with her after we started getting on the right path, and I was like, let's try to save 50% of our income. And she agreed to that too. She could have been against all of that stuff, and she agreed to it. And that was a goal as we climbed up closer and closer to 50%. And I'm excited to tell you guys in a couple of videos from now, our savings rate for the month of March is tremendous, huge, like all-star financial vlogger type and blogger type, Mr. Money mustache, maybe even higher. Just our savings rate is big right now, and I'm just so proud, and our lives have become so happy. So it has benefited us a great deal to combine our finances. Let me know if you guys combine your finances, why or why not. I do have a second checking account where I can put a little bit of extra money in to play around with, and so does she. It's no big deal. If she needs to get something, fine. We let each other know. It's no big deal. Whether that's a few extra bucks from selling records as my hobby, or if I Instacart $275, maybe I'll have her put the rest towards I used to say put the rest towards the mortgage and leave me like $25, something like that. And that stuff can kind of grow in my second checking. And if my friends and I want to purchase something, we can, or if concert tickets come up, that's kind of like a nice fund, and it doesn't even affect our normal bills. But let me know how you guys are doing with combining your finances, and I will talk to you tomorrow.